What's happening, everybody? I am sorry that it's been about a week or so since I've been on here doing a podcast. We've just been on the road and been super busy, but home for a day. So I figured I'd jump on here. We can talk a little bit about what's going on in the sports world. The NFL is back in the news because it is Combine Week or Combine Weekend. Obviously, it's been going on most of the week, but the good stuff starts happening now around the weekend. Edge rushers were doing their thing today, which is Thursday. And I think safeties and DBs go tomorrow on Friday. And then I'm sure quarterbacks, I think, usually go during the weekend on Saturday. Mendoza, the projected number one pick, will not be throwing. So a couple things on that. Obviously, the competitor that I would hope these kids are is saying, well, he should go out there and compete. But I do think, nowadays, obviously with players kind of, and I mean, they always maybe should have treated it this way as a business, see it as he has nothing to gain. Obviously, he's projected to go number one to the Raiders already. So if he goes out there and balls out, all right, well, his percentage of being the number one pick really doesn't move much. And if he goes out there and has a bad day, well, then maybe questions start to arise. I still think teams don't put too much into it, especially with quarterbacks and how they measure them based off their combine results. More specifically, they're throwing to receivers that they've never thrown to. The timing's off. So, a guy could, throw a pass that for his receiver that he's played a couple years with or a year with in college would have been right on the money. But with a receiver from a completely different school, well, that looks like he airmailed him. So, again, I get it from Mendoza's perspective and some of these top prospects not participating. But I do think at least it's good to still have the combine. Obviously, it's a chance for those guys that maybe are projected to be later round picks to move up or to impress or to catch someone's eye or, put on a great 40 time that now you think to yourself, like, maybe this guy's a speedster. We could use him in special teams, returning punts or whatever, if he's a wide receiver, DB, whatever the case may be. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about with the NFL is that the ownership grades came out. And I was just looking into this. My first take on that when I see these grades about how ownership and the facilities are is who cares? Who cares? I don't care if there are roaches in the building. At the end of the day, the free agents are going to sign where the money's at. Okay. That's just a fact. So I understand the want to criticize owners for not having the best facilities and whatnot. And because they're billionaires, most of them, or a lot of them, that we're supposed to just assume that they're supposed to have the best things all the time for these players. But look, they're running a business. Half of them aren't even ever really in the building. Okay. This is one of their many businesses. So to have this expectation that these ownership groups or individuals are going to care for the facilities and what kind of equipment is in there is just ridiculous. And people throwing fits about, certain bad grades is just makes no sense to me at all. This is still the NFL. Even the worst organization is still going to have, a facility with training equipment and all that. And ultimately, like I said, the bottom line is, should they have top-notch equipment? Absolutely. But people put this out there and criticize teams like, oh, well, who wants to play for the Steelers? You know who wants to play for the Steelers? The free agent that's going to get a bigger bag from the Steelers than he is going to get from the Cleveland Browns, or the free agent that's going to get a bigger bag from the Steelers than he is going to get from the San Francisco 49ers. That's who's going to go play there, okay? So it just makes no difference. It doesn't do anything to, maybe for the casual fan that's just looking to criticize these millionaire owners, all right, whatever. But, you look at the grades, the A-plus teams from this last season in the final NFL ownership grades are the Miami Dolphins, the Atlanta Falcons, and the Minnesota Vikings. You know what those three teams have in common? None of them made the playoffs. Right. That's right. None of them. Okay. So again, it's just one of those things. You want to know where the Seahawks, the Super Bowl champions, ranked in their ownership group? A C plus. All right. So at the end of the day, I just don't get it. You know where the AFC champion, the New England Patriots, ranked on this list? A D, right next to the Pittsburgh Steelers, who one of the criticisms for the Steelers was about how players really complained about their facilities. Well, I mean, look at the Steelers' grades. Locker room, F. Ownership, F. Home field, F. Strength coaches, F. Steelers got destroyed on the report card. Big deal. Okay. That ranked the same as the Patriots, and the Patriots made the Super Bowl. Bottom line is the ownership groups, they just want to win. Okay. And the players just want to get paid and win. And if you're a free agent and you look at the Seattle Seahawks and you look at a team like the Minnesota Vikings, who are you most likely to sign with if the money, is the same? Are you going to go with the Vikings because the facilities are nicer? Or are you going to go with the Seahawks because you might get another ring or a championship ring there? So again, it's a whole lot of nothing. And I didn't even know this, but apparently this is the last year that they're going to do this. So thank God, because I hate seeing people overreact to this like it's so important. It's not, okay? It's just not. Teams are all over the place. Successful teams are at the bottom sometimes. The Chiefs are a C+ in this ranking, okay? And they went back to back. The Eagles are a B. The Raiders are an A, whoop-de-doo, and they have the number 1 pick in the draft, okay? So, it's all over the place. So, again, sure, you want to grade them for, what kind of equipment that they have. I mean, if the weights are 50 pounds, but they're in, with nice layering as opposed to a 50-pound dumbbell that's doesn't have the cool look. All right, whatever. What's important, again, I think they should do, and I think part of this is sometimes the training staff and whatnot, but that maybe makes a difference. That's important. That if you're recovering from an injury, you care about, who the training staff and what their background is and what kind of injuries they've dealt with and helped, cure people help people come back from. All right, that makes sense to me. But talking about what their locker room looks like, cool. That's cool for an Instagram video. But if you're a player, you're in that locker room in the stadium for 8 games a year, 8 days out of the year, are you using that locker room? The rest of the time you're in the training facility. And even that, it's a locker room. It's a locker room. Okay. So I'm willing to bet. And in fact, factually, that these players would rather get a check or a little bit more money than they get the grand honor of going into a nicer locker room than a crappy one. All right. I think they'd rather play in a stadium that has a little bit worse field, but actually win a Super Bowl than they do in one that has a really nice field and they go 4-13. So it's just a whole lot of nothing. So I'm glad that that's going to, kind of be going away. And aside from that, with the NFL, obviously rumor mills and all that's going on. And, that'll keep stirring up here as we get into free agency. The league year is about to essentially transition over and free agency starts in I think it's about less than 2 weeks. So I'm excited for that. That should be a fun time. We can talk about free agents and who's going to go where. And then ultimately, once the chips start falling where they may, talk about the signings and all that. And a lot of, I think important off seasons for big time teams like the Chiefs, I think are faced with a really important off season. Buffalo has a new head coach now. What are they going to do? Green Bay, Chicago, are they going to take that next step now and be Super Bowl contenders with the way Caleb played and that team played down the stretch, and with Ben Johnson are going to take a step back? So again, the Lions kind of lost in the mix, but a team that I think still has the potential to be great. The 49ers, who had a lot of injuries, do they get healthy and suddenly make a run? So a lot of questions. And I think in the next 2 weeks, we'll have some answers. Switching gears to the NBA. Well, I'll say this much. I watched a little bit of Victor Wembanyama lately, and I don't know if you're looking at actual MVPs, right? And obviously SGA is up there. Nikola Jokic is up there. I mean, these guys carry their teams. But if you watch a Spurs game, like I've watched a couple recently, and you notice or not notice when Victor Wembanyama is not on the court, it's almost like you didn't watch that game. I mean, the difference this guy makes when he is on the basketball court is night and day. And when his numbers don't even look impressive, when he has a 12-point, I think that's what he had yesterday. I was watching that game. He had, let's take a look at his actual box score. So the Spurs won, I believe it's their 9th straight game, and they won in Toronto 110-107. Victor Wembanyama had 12 points on 3 for 12 shooting and 8 rebounds. That's all he had, right? He was a plus 19 when he was on the court. Okay. His ability to just change everything at the rim. He had 5 blocks. This guy, if he's not MVP this year, he is MVP next year. I don't know how you don't look. And the Spurs are 42-16. So it's not like they're way back and out there, right? So he has done a hell of a job this season. I'm trying to see how many games he has played this year. So he's got 44 games played. So he's missed 15. So, I mean, he's coming close to not being eligible to get the award, right? But so is SGA. Jokic missed some time as well. So those guys are close. But if Victor is eligible, look out for that because they are also breathing down the OKC Thunder's back. All right. The Thunder are in first place in the West, but they're only a game and a half up on the Spurs. And again, the Spurs have won a lot of those head-to-head matchups. I think the Spurs have won 3 of the 4 matchups this year. So look out for the Spurs. They've won 11 in a row, actually. So I'm just saying, keep an eye on that. So it's getting interesting now, okay? Because the season's coming down. You know, most teams over here have about 30 games, if that, or I think I should say 20. There are about 20 games left for these teams. So these games start to really matter. Playoff positioning's at stake. And, that Western Conference is deep. Right now, it's Thunder 1, Spurs 2nd. The Rockets are 3rd. Nuggets are 4th. They're trying to hold off the Timberwolves at 5th. And then the Lakers are the 6th team in the West. And then, the Suns are right there at 7th. And then the rest of the teams, it's hard to take serious right now with injuries and obviously where they're at in their, in their aspirations, I should say, when you got the Warriors, Blazers, and the Clippers. So we'll see how it all breaks down the stretch, but ultimately we'll see what comes out of the combine. I'm sure another couple rumors will pop out this weekend, especially when we get some of the quarterbacks throwing. Some guy's going to throw for 60 yards in the air and they're going to be like, oh, because this guy move up. It happens every year. But ultimately, I think it's the outside of the combine rumors that pick up steam here with all the NFL people kind of being in Indianapolis. The draft stuff, that stuff will move around, but the rumors, the trades that will start to happen. There was already one today between, I think it was the Jets and who was the other team? The Jets made a trade. The Titans. They traded Jermaine Johnson to the Titans for Devontae Sweat. Jermaine Johnson reunites there with Robert Saleh in Tennessee. So those types of things will start to happen probably going into the weekend and into early next week as teams also need to start, if they're over the cap, getting under the cap before the league year switches over. So I will talk to you guys hopefully in the next couple of days. I'm still busy and on the road for a little bit, but then hopefully I'll be able to talk to y'all more frequently. It's good to be back. It's good to at least get a podcast out there. And again, thanks for watching. Subscribe, comment below. Look forward to keeping this up and talking to y'all some more. So I'll see you on the next one.